All right, and welcome back to the Slice, everybody. This is a little live version of a draw preview, full breakdown of the women's draw at the Australian Open 2023. How the heck are you? Are you feeling ready for these 2 weeks to get underway? I am, and I know the women are who are in the draw because it is, like always, a talent-packed draw. And to me, the big storyline is after last year's dominance of Iga Swiatek, will it continue in 2023? In my opinion, just off the top, her draw looks very tough. So to me, she's got a tough draw to come through. We're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to talk about who I think are the other real contenders, not the pretenders, in this year's draw. So without further ado, let's get into it and take a deeper look at this year's draw, including the Canadians. Let's get into it. Here's the slice. All right, thanks for being here. This is kind of an unannounced live that we're doing, a version of this recording. So if you are here and you show up, you're the lucky ones. You can throw comments or questions down below and we'll get to them at the end. But if you're watching this in the recording, what's up? Thanks for being here. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. This is the Slice. This is where you're going to get the best, most in-depth, most controversial and hot takes on the tennis during the next 2 weeks of the Australian Open. And our coverage is brought to you in part by Go Sport, who is the official bag of the Slice premium tennis bags, the absolute best tennis bags you can get on the market. I've got 2 of them, and I would highly recommend getting one yourself if you're a serious tennis player or just starting and you need a bag that's going to last you and make you look cool on court. So link below is to get one of those, and I think you get 10% off. So check out that link. But I'm going to check out right now the draw, the women's draw, where we got what I like to do. I got all my notes here. I like to take a look at where the top 8 seeds are placed, because obviously that kind of sets up the draw. And it kind of shows you who's on the top half, who's on the bottom half. That's a big deal, obviously. But then it shows who are the potential quarterfinal matchups for the biggest players. The top 4 seeds being number 1, Iga Swiatek, number 2, Ons Jabeur, number 3, Jess Pegula. I don't know what I said there. Jessica Pegula. And number 4, Caroline Garcia. So let's just first go to take a look at the potential quarterfinal matchups. So that would be Iga Swiatek, number 1. She could play Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals. Pegula could play Sakkari in the quarterfinals. Kasatkina, the 8th seed, could play Garcia. And Sabalenka versus Ons Jabeur. So Sabalenka, Garcia, Kasatkina on the bottom half with Ons Jabeur, and Sakkari, Pegula, and Coco Gauff on the top half with Iga Swiatek. So pretty interesting there straight off the bat. Things that catch my eye. I'm going to throw up the draw here in a little bit. We're going to take a deeper look at Iga's draw. But I guess the reason why I think that it is tough for her is because it feels like, although she won 2 slams and she finished the year way above everyone else in as far as points and everything else go in the women's draw, it does feel like the rest of the field has gotten confidence when it comes to the possibility of beating Iga Swiatek. It doesn't feel like she's dominating as hard as she used to, if you know what I mean. So she still has like the absolute stranglehold on the tour, but I think the other women feel confident that their games can match up. And I think on a court like the Australian Open, and a little bit slipperier, a little bit quicker, some of these bigger hitters like Sabalenka, like Garcia, are going to feel like their ball has a lot of purchase, and they're going to have confidence when it comes up to someone like Swiatek, who they might feel like they actually have more pace than. But speaking of the Polish superstar, let's take a quick look at her route to the final, and then we'll get deeper into what each person's quarters looks like, who's in there, what's interesting. We'll throw up the draw on the screen here. First of all, though, how do you like the little studio setup? We're in here kind of just mixing and matching. We're just into a new studio space. So we're kind of just starting to build it out as this tournament gets rolling. So let me know what you think there, if you have any thoughts. But yeah, Iga Swiatek's route to the final starts out. She'll play Jule Niemeyer from Germany, who is a strong, big hitting player in round 1. That's not a great way to, I think, Andreescu, Canadian Andreescu, Just give me a second here. She's going to give you a personal welcome.
Hey guys, this is Bianca Andrescu, and welcome to The Slice.
I think she played her in Wimbledon first round and got through, but it was super tight. So that's a tough first round for Swiatek right off the bat. And then in the second round, she could play Osorio, who is a great Colombian player, young player, super good athlete. That's not an easy second round either. Then she could play either Buzkova or Andreescu. Probably the winner of that match will probably make it to the third round. Both of those could be super tough. Buzkova, super nice player, ranked 25th or 25th seed here at this year's tournament. And Andreescu, as we all know, the talent she has, she can pretty much play up against anyone and cause a serious threat. So those are the first 3 rounds. Not easy first 3 rounds for Iga Swiatek in any way. And then the fourth rounds, it's either Danielle Collins, who we all know gets superpowers when it comes to playing down under, and Elena Rybakina, last year's Wimbledon champ, who on these courts, again, like I said, it could be scary to see her serve and her forehand on these types of courts. She can literally just take the racket right out of your hand and make you feel like you're out there all alone, which of course you are. So that's the fourth round. Then in the quarterfinals, Swiatek could play Badoza or Goff. Goff, they played in the French Open final, obviously. Goff was, a little bit starstruck. Maybe it was her first time at that stage and maybe didn't play her best, but quicker courts, we'll see who that helps. I'm not really sure who it would help. Coco Gauff loves the clay as well, but Badoza, that's not an easy match, obviously, with Badoza being, right there on the edge of the top 10 as well. So then it goes either Pegula or Sakkari in the semifinals, and then in the finals, you're going to have the number 1 player from the bottom side, which I would guess is going to be Garcia or Sabalenka. So to me, does that not just seem like a very tough slog through the draw for Swiatek? Not any rounds there like you see with a lot of these draws where there's a couple easier rounds that looks like she could have a little bit of a break. It's going to seem like every single round she has to be on her game or else she could exit. Maybe something like we saw at Wimbledon. This might be a tournament closer to Wimbledon more than the French Open, if you know what I'm saying. We will take a deeper look at each person's quarters. And in fact, let's do that right now. So we're just going to go through the draw here from top to bottom. Full down draw breakdown. Swiatek versus Niemeyer, like I said. And then Osorio should come through that. If she doesn't, I've never heard of this other person, but that's who would play Swiatek in the second round. And then we got Andreescu versus Buzkova, one of the first round matches that everyone's looking at, I would say. Super talented Andreescu versus Buzkova, who is, great player, 25th seed, been playing a lot of great tennis recently, and they have played, I think, 3 times in the past. I think Andreescu's got her twice, but Buzkova won the last time that they played. And then, like I said, you see Rybakina in the Swiatek quarter as well. And then Sarenko versus Caroline Mukova, and then Kalinskaya versus Danielle Collins. So probably out of this little section, we're going to see Rybakina or Collins come out of that draw to then come up and play Swiatek if she were to get through. And then you got Paula Badoza versus Kati McNally. Great first round match there. Yastremska versus Ostapenko. Ostapenko is going to be bringing those outfits out down under, she's going to be razzling and dazzling the crowd, not giving 2 shites. You know how they go. Qinwen Zhang then versus Galfi from, looks like Hungary. And then we got Raducanu versus Korpach from Germany. So Raducanu, who, if you didn't see, rolled her ankle in New Zealand and was forced to withdraw. We'll see where her ankle's at. We'll see where that level of her fitness is at as she continues her scratching and clawing to get back up the rankings to where she'd want to be. Then we got Coco Gauff play Siniakova in the first round. To then imagine we have Raducanu versus Coco Gauff second round in Australia. That would be a match for the young ages. That would be pretty crazy. So then we got Jess Pegula starting here into the second quarter. So that's the Iga Swiatek quarter. We got Gauff, we got Raducanu, we got Zhang, Ostapenko, Badoza, Collins, Sarenko, she's a qualifier, but she's a promising Ukrainian player. Rybakina, Buzkova, Andreescu, Osario, Niemeyer. That's a talent-packed, full-on, serious draw, if you ask me. Is that not? So that's why I titled this video that way. That's why I made the thumbnail saying, Swiatek's got a tough draw. Is she in trouble as the dominant number one coming into this tournament? I think it's going to be a really tricky quarter to come out of, and then we'll see what happens if and when she does. Let's go back to the draw here and keep moving on. So down into the Pegula quarter. She plays Christian first. And you can see Anisimova is her potential third-round match there. So two Americans could go up at it if Anisimova gets through potentially, or Kostiak, and then potentially at Kudermetova, who's a qualifier. Krejcikova could potentially play fellow Czech, or is playing fellow Czech by Czech in the first round, but then could play another fellow Czech, Kvitova, in the third round. And Madison Keys, American, playing Blinkova in the first round, Tomjanovic, Podoroska, and then probably the number one matchup in the first round. Apparently the only two former titleists here in Australia, Sofia Kenin versus Victoria Azarenka in the first round. Both kind of shells of what they once were when they won this tournament, but super, just a interesting first round match between two former champions. That's just going to be, that's like one of those matches where you see some of the hotter wood potentially burned off quickly. Is that even a saying that people say? I don't know. Jill Teichmann, 32, versus Harriet Dart. Then Zhu versus Canadian Rebecca Marino, who is straight into the draw. And then you got Maria Sakkari rounding out that quarter, the Jess Pegula quarter. So solid quarter. I wouldn't say as dense talent-wise as Swiatek's quarter. And that's why I said Swiatek's got the toughest quarter in my opinion. So now we're into the Caroline Garcia quarter. And let's take a look at that. Kasatkina on the top of it. Got a lot of good players in here. Pliskova could play Kasatkina in the third round. Zhang, number 23 seed, could play Kudermetova, number 9 seed in the third round. And then we got Annette Kontaveit, who's dropped down all the way to 16. Interesting there. Begu. And then we got two Canadians down at the bottom of this corner. So Leylah Fernandez, this is another great first round matchup. Leylah Fernandez versus Alizé Cornet, potentially. I think they played at the French Open, or no. Anyways, they played and they had a feisty battle. Let me look this up. Versus Cornet. When did they play last? Indian Wells. No, they were teammates there in Indian Wells. Or no, Fernandez beat Cornet in 2021 at Indian Wells. And then they played doubles together last year in Indian Wells. Anyways, they didn't play the French Open. But that's a great all-around baseline strong, heavy hitting. Not super heavy hitting, but not super heavy hitting, but great counter punching baseline strengths on display between Cornet and Fernandez. I think that should be super interesting. Then we got Catherine Sebov, Canadian, who qualified, and she will play Caroline Garcia. Welcome to the big leagues right away, first round in Australia. So that's another great quarter. Again, don't think it's as talent-packed as the first one. So now that brings us to the Ons Jabeur quarter and Arina Sabalenka. So I favor Sabalenka coming out of this quarter over Jabeur, to be honest. She's going to play Martinkova first up, and then she's got Elise Mertens potentially in the third round. Trevisen's in there, Bencic, Camila Giorgi, Pavlyuchenkova, Haddad Maya is the 14th seed. Sloane Stephens is in there, Donna Vekic, Samsonova. Keep an eye out for Ludmila Samsonova. I had her as one of my potential dark horses for this tournament. I still do. Kai Kanepi and Ons Jabeur rounding that out on the bottom there. So Interesting spots for some of these players. No Naomi Osaka. If you did not hear, if you've been living under a rock, Naomi Osaka will not be playing in the Australian Open or really anytime soon because she has announced that she's pregnant. So she throws a curveball there to everyone. She's out for the next while doing, some would say the more important things in life, which is great for her. So congrats to Naomi Osaka. But for the players we have here, my contenders are Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Caroline Garcia, Sabalenka. I think I have good feelings about all those players based on their form at the end of last year and just based on where they're at in their careers and how they can play on this surface. I would say Garcia and Sabalenka, the players who on this surface, I feel like their game will rise to the occasion and they could be very hard to stop. Swiatek based on her year last year, and I do just think Coco Gauff is really coming into her own. Obviously, she is making the French Open final last year, just having a great year. What's up, guys? Even if you guys have any questions about the draw, drop them in the comment section. We will get to them shortly here. So yeah, those are my real contenders. There's a few dark horses, like I would say Rybakina, Samsonova, Andreescu, players who I think if they get on heaters can do a lot of damage. Obviously, I think those are players who are just going to be super tough outs in general. But that's kind of just a lay of the land, I would say, as far as what the draw looks like, who's on the top. We got, like, recapping, Swiatek, Gauff, Pegula, Sakkari on the top, Kasatkina, Garcia, Sabalenka, Jabeur on the bottom. So that is how it is laid out. Van Lee, we got to take some live questions here. If you got them, Van Lee says, tough opening match for BB. Counterpuncher in the heat. Yes, it could be a little bit of a ground and pound. So we'll see how Bianca holds up to that against Buzkova, who's a great player. So yeah, that's a quick look at the women's draw. That's a preview. Prediction time. I really don't have a solid prediction here. For some reason, I keep liking Sabalenka. I keep seeing the name Sabalenka when I think of potential champions here. So maybe that's my prediction. Aryna Sabalenka to win the Australian Open. Could it be? She's got the game for it. She just has never really put it together at a major to win one. So is this going to be her first time? That's a good question for me. So last question just snuck in here. Advantage Receiver says, do you expect the serving woes to continue to cause Sabalenka any issues this year? I mean, I hope not. I feel she kind of turned that corner by the end of the season last year, no? So I don't think it will. I would hope it wouldn't. As a pro, you would just expect them to figure that type of thing out and move on with it in their career, but you never know. So she's my pick, my prediction to win the Australian Open, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? So anyways, thanks for being here. Subscribe to The Slice. Check out Go Sport, link below. They are our official bag sponsor for the Australian Open. And follow me on Twitter at The Slice Steven. I'll be live tweeting a lot of the matches when they start going down on Sunday night here, Monday in Australia. And it's going to be a great tournament. May the best man win. Women win, should I say. I almost forgot to list out where all the Canadians are playing. So we got Rebecca Marino versus Lin Zhu. Fernandez playing Cornet, like I said. Andreescu versus Buzkova. And Catherine Sebov playing Caroline Garcia. I did mention them all, but I wanted to wrap them up for the Canadian fans like me who are here to cheer on our compatriots. So there's the women's draw. There's a preview. It's going to be good. I am excited for the action to get going. So we'll see you on the other time in our next video coming out here from The Slice. Thanks for being here, guys. And I'll send you out with this.
Hey guys, this is Bianca Andreescu, and welcome to The Slice.